They are not rational. Because if they were rational, they would actually, Jacob Zuma would not have gotten the second term if South Africans were actually rational. Jacob Zuma would not get the second term if South Africans were rational. But because South Africans are irrational, they gave Jacob Zuma the second term. This is the same reason why South Africans are going to give Ramaphosa the second term, despite his terrible past 5 years of presidency.
The 360 experience with Thomas M.
Guys, you see, me personally, I don't want to lie. I am sick and tired of the predictions. I'm sick and tired of the polling numbers. I am sick and tired of the debates about which political party will win the elections, which political party is going to go into coalition with which political party. All of those things, man, I'm sick and tired of them, and they are starting to give me anxiety. They are starting to give me anxiety, and I am happy to learn that I'm not the only one. I remember there's a lady yesterday who actually sent me an email, and he said that, Thomas, man, I am sick and tired of what is happening in the country today. I don't even know what future holds for us as South Africans. So we don't know if South Africa will actually succeed or South Africa will actually go down the drain. So I just want us to go to the polls so that we can vote and get it over with. I am one of those people who actually believes that, guys, maybe we should just go to the polls and get it over with. And I am happy to know that we are simply a couple of weeks away from the elections. Soon enough, South Africans, we will know the fate of our country. Soon enough, guys, just hold on, just a bit. We are a couple of weeks away from the elections, and we will never be in this position again. You know, right now, we are in the position that we have never been in the country before, man. The 2024 elections, man, are elections like no other. We have never been in this position before as the country. People have never been so anxious about the future of this country, man. People have never debated so much about what is going to happen in the elections. So this is the reason why I think some people are getting anxious. Me too, I'm also getting anxious. So guys, today I want us to watch this video by Rob Hersov. I don't know what people actually meant when they said that Rob Hersov is resigning from South African politics, man. I don't know what actually they meant by that, because me personally, I know there is no way Rob Hersov is gonna stop commenting about what is happening in the country, man. Rob Hersov loves South Africa so much. There is no way there's no way he's gonna stop commenting about what is happening in the country. And on this video, man, Rob Hersov, I'm telling you guys, he has wild takes. Please tell me what you think on the comment section, if you agree with Rob Hersov or you disagree with Rob Hersov. Let's hear what the entrepreneur and businessman has to say this time around.
The majority of South Africans, so over 50% interviewed, researched, look back to the Rainbow Coalition of 94 to 2004, where we had economic growth, massive increase in employment, all the positives happening, and competent people in every position, regardless of race, regardless of whatever. And what happened was Zuma and Ramaphosa have destroyed that. They've destroyed it across the board. So people look back and say, well, maybe we could reignite the Rainbow Coalition, 94 to 2004, where competent people are in charge.
Correct.
And we need to take the country back, which means the ANC will lose in 2024.
But honestly, man, I don't want to lie. I don't think that South Africa, we can actually go back to where we was a few decades ago because of the racial politics that has been played today. I don't think the political parties that we have in the country today can actually allow South Africa to go back to where we were today a couple of decades ago, because the political parties that we have today, they benefit so much from South Africans hating each other. They benefit so much from South Africans being divided. So I don't think there's any way these political parties are actually going to allow South Africans to go back to where they were a couple of decades ago. I mean, right now, if you are in South Africa and if you talk about unity, if you talk about people unifying, I am one of those people who actually encourage South Africans to unify. I'm one of those people who actually says that, guys, we are not perfect as people. Black people are not perfect. White people are not perfect. Afrikaners are not perfect. You will find bad people in white people. You will also find good people in white people. You will find bad people in black people. You will also find good people in black people. Guys, we are not perfect as human beings, but we can actually work together. We can actually find our common ground so that the country can succeed. But every time when I rally out this message, you will see people will come out with a full swing and telling me that, Thomas, man, you are trying to pander to white people. You are trying to pander to these people that hate us so much. So the political parties have actually done a stellar job when it comes to programming people to hate other people based on race. I don't think that South Africa will actually go back to where it was a couple of decades ago, simply because the political parties have put enough work. The political parties and the politicians, they have worked so much to ensure that the South Africans hate each other. The political parties and the politicians, they have worked so much to ensure that the South Africans are divided. So when you talk about unity, especially if you are a black man like me, a black person like me who has white friends, who has Indian friends, who also has a black friends, when I talk about unity, people always come out to insult me and tell me that I am trying to pander to other people. So if it was according to them, I would simply be loyal to black people. I would hate other people. I would hate other groups. I would talk bad about other groups. But because I'm one of those people who actually talks good about other people, it is so easy for some of them to come and attack me. So 20, 30 years later after the democracy, man, I don't see how South Africa is going to go back there. I don't see how that messaging of Mandela is going to be reignited, simply because we have the politicians that are relying on South Africans hating each other. We have the political parties that would not exist today if it were not for them by pushing the racial divides. We have the political parties and the politicians that would be irrelevant today if these people were not to talk about race, were not to instigate people into hating each other. So I honestly don't see how South Africa is going to go back to where it was. I don't see how South Africa is going to go back to where it was. Because there is nothing right now that South Africans hate more than unity. There is nothing that South Africans hate more than unity. When you talk about unity, man, you better be prepared for what is about to come. You better be prepared for what's about to come. There is nothing they hate more than unity. And politicians have actually made sure that South Africans are divided. You see politicians with the help of the mainstream media. These people have actually done a stellar job when it comes to making sure that the people are divided. People hate each other. So honestly, I don't see how we're going to go back to where we were.
The majority of South Africans, so over 50% interviewed, researched, look back to the Rainbow Coalition of 94 to 2004, where we had economic growth, massive increase in employment, all the positives happening, and competent people in every position, regardless of race, regardless of whatever.
But that is the thing, man. I'm sorry for continuing to cut you, Hersov, but that is the thing, man. If you're gonna employ people based on their competency, not their race, if you are a leader, if you are someone in that position who is actually going to hire people based on their competency but not based on their race, it's going to be nearly impossible for them, because this is how people see things in South Africa. People see things through the lens of race. They see everything through the lens of race. So if you appoint people, you have to make sure that at least you try to play to what people actually believe, because you know what is happening in South Africa today.
The majority of South Africans, so over 50% interviewed, researched, look back to the Rainbow Coalition of 94 to 2004, where we had economic growth, massive increase in employment, all the positives happening, and competent people in every position, regardless of race. Regardless of whatever. And what happened was Zuma and Ramaphosa have destroyed that. They've destroyed it across the board. So people look back and say, well, maybe we could reignite the Rainbow Coalition, 94 to 2004, where competent people are in charge.
Correct.
And we need to take the country back, which means the ANC will lose in 2024. They will. I honestly believe that. They're already below 50%. If we can get rid of Cyril Ramaphosa, who's lying and cheating and he's holding up the ANC by an additional 5%, have a look at Transpreneurs reports. If we can get rid of him, and he is.
So how are we actually going to get rid of Ramaphosa? How are we going to get rid of Ramaphosa? Because even the ANC understands that without Ramaphosa, there is no way they're going to win the elections. Don't you find it strange that today you look at Ramaphosa's presidency, you look at everything that Ramaphosa has done, but for some reason Ramaphosa still enjoys the majority of the support from the people on the ground? the African National Congress understands that if we get rid of Ramaphosa today, chances are we're gonna lose the elections. But with Ramaphosa, for some reason, they know they're gonna win the elections. So this is the reason why I'm saying that it is so hard for South Africans to look on things based on merit, because if we were that kind of a nation that would look at things based on a merit, we would look at Ramaphosa's presidency, we would sit back and say, this is past 5 years of Ramaphosa's presidency. What is it exactly has Ramaphosa achieved as the president of the country? And we would understand that by analyzing these past 5 years of Ramaphosa, there is no way South Africans should vote for this person to be the president of the country again. But the fact that people on the ground, they still love Ramaphosa despite his terrible past 5 years of presidency, it tells you that we do not look at things based on the merit. We do not look at things based on the merit. And this is a majority. I'm speaking for the majority of the people on the ground. I'm not speaking for the people who are actually rational. Because it is so unfortunate for me to say that the majority of the people are not rational. They are not rational. Because if they were rational, they would actually, Jacob Zuma would not have gotten the second term if South Africans were actually rational. Jacob Zuma would not get the second term if South Africans were rational. But because South Africans are irrational, they gave Jacob Zuma the second term. This is the same reason why South Africans are going to give Ramaphosa the second term, despite his terrible past 5 years of presidency. So how are we going to get rid of Ramaphosa? How are we going to get rid of Ramaphosa? If Phala was not enough for the ANC to say, man, you need to go away, what can we do as the outsiders to make sure that Ramaphosa is not running on behalf of the ANC? Because I think Ramaphosa knows that even inside the ANC, there is not a single person that is popular like him at this point. There is not a popular person within the African National Congress that is popular like Ramaphosa. People are not looking at the track record of Ramaphosa. They are simply looking at him as the man. They are falling for his smiles and for his, the way he speaks and the way he's hugging children now. He's kissing our grandmothers, he's washing people's feet, and this is what people are falling in love with him, and this is why people love him. We are not rational as the people of this country, man. Majority of the people in this country, man, which are poor black people, man, in this country, we are not rational. Because if we were rational, we would actually look at the track record of the presidency. We would actually look at what the presidency has done. Sometimes, man, I wish South Africans were like the Americans, man. The Americans, man, they are not shy to say that, man. You see, the Democrats has failed us. Right now, we're gonna vote for the Republicans. No, you see, this time the Republicans have failed us. Now we're gonna vote for the Democrats. I wish South Africans were like that. I wish we were like that, man. I think if South Africa were like that, many political parties would actually be given a chance, maybe 5 years, to say that, okay, Musime Mane, can you please become the president of the country? Let's see what you can actually do for South Africa. But we are not doing that. As the people of this country, we are not doing that. We are simply loyal to the politicians, and we are loyal to political parties. And it makes it so hard. It makes it so hard to look at things a rational way. Because I can tell you right now, man, if we were rational as the people of this country, there is no way Ramaphosa was going to be the president of the country again. There is no way. But because everything we look at through the lens of race, Ramaphosa is going to be the president of the country again.
Guilty. Phala, he is guilty. The ANC will collapse below 40%. Frans Cronje's research has shown that if there was an election today in just the urban areas, the ANC is at 30% or below. They've lost the urban areas. They're becoming a poor, rural, uneducated party.
But at the same time, those are the majority of the voters. Those are the majority of the voters. And it makes you think that, is this the reason why these people don't want to create a conducive environment so that the businesses can thrive? Because when the businesses thrive, people will find employment. And once people are employed, they can actually see what the ANC is doing. Majority of the people that are voting for the ANC are the people that are not employed. There are people that are depending on the social accounts. There are people that are depending on the ANC for almost everything. But the ANC understands that once people start working, they distance themselves away from the ANC because now they can see clearly what the ANC is doing. I think this is one of the reasons why it's been so hard for them to actually create an environment where businesses can thrive, where the investments can come, because they know that once people start working, once people start elevating from being the lower class to the middle class, those people, they will distance themselves from the African National Congress. And if you look at the middle class in South Africa, it is a minority. It is a minority. Most of the people in the country, they are suffering. Most of the people in the country, they are hungry. So minority is making a lot of noise, and the middle class is making a lot of noise. They are rational, but it will not transcend with the votes. It will not transcend with the votes because they are a minority in the country. Many people are not working in the country, and I think that too, it was deliberate by the ANC.
Let's give the ANC credit and give them 40% of the national vote. The EFF, let's give them 10%. I mean, the glass ceiling is 12%. They're playing it very cleverly right now, not creating trouble, not trying to run any municipalities, giving their council votes to the DA and the PA and people like that, letting someone else, looking like they're doing the right thing. They're playing it clever.
But when it comes to the EFF, man, I'm one of those people who actually believes that the EFF is going to lose a lot of votes simply on this stand of theirs of open borders. I don't think that a lot of South Africans actually have an appetite to vote for someone who comes out and says that we are advocating for open borders, man. You see, right now, there is nothing that I enjoy than seeing Julius Malema speak. Every time when Julius Malema opens up his own mouth, I know that he is decampaigning the EFF. I know that he's decampaigning the EFF. So the EFF has to go below the radar and say that, guys, our messaging is not resonating with the people on the ground. The people on the ground, they are not happy with the illegal immigrants. And this is the reason why today, when someone says the EFF, the next person will come out and say Patriotic Alliance. So I think Patriotic Alliance is going to do a lot, especially when it comes to their stance on the illegal immigration, because many people in the townships, this is one of the things that they are not happy about. Many people in the townships, they are not in the townships and illegal informal settlements. They are not happy about the fact that their communities have been taken over by the people who come outside of South Africa. They are not happy about the crime that has been committed by these people who come outside of South Africa. So the EFF has done a lot in terms of the campaigning themselves. This is why they are now going under the radar. This is the reason why they are not causing any problems, because they can actually understand that the people are not resonating with their message. People are not resonating their message. This is the reason why Julius Malema is getting softer and softer. Even when it comes to the land expropriation, Julius Malema is becoming softer. He's now talking about unused land. Yeah, we're going to expropriate, but we are not going to take people's properties. This is not how Julius Malema spoke a couple of years ago. When Julius Malema was speaking about expropriation without compensation a couple of years ago, he would tell you that we are going to take a farm, we are going to take your dog, we are going to take everything that belongs to you. But he actually saw that, man, this message is not resonating with the people, because today we have black farmers. Today we have black people who have massive properties, and those people, there's no way they're going to allow the likes of the EFF to come and take everything they've worked so hard for. So Julius Malema has become soft even when it comes to the issue of land expropriation without compensation. They tried to go on this one Africa, we are one Africa, we don't believe in the borders, but South Africans, they do not want to hear anything from that. So this is the reason why the EFF is trying to find a message that is going to resonate with the people on the ground, because what they actually formed their party on, it is not resonating with the people on the ground. The land expropriation without compensation, it is not resonating with the people on the ground, because even the EFF themselves, they cannot explain what is land expropriation without compensation, what will be the consequences of land expropriation without compensation, and how is the country going to deal with the consequences of land expropriation without compensation. You know, the EFF, they love to talk about, no, South Africa is not going to be like Zimbabwe, we are not going to do it like Zimbabwe. But people have never actually questioned them that, guys, what are you going to do that is different from Zimbabwe? Because the Zimbabwe tried this land expropriation without compensation nonsense, and today millions of them, they are living in South Africa. There is no way we're going to allow you guys to start with this nonsense of land expropriation without compensation, because we don't want to be like Zimbabwe. And what will be the consequences of land expropriation without compensation in South Africa? So these are the questions that the EFF is struggling to deal with. So their message is not resonating with the people on the ground. Their message is not resonating with the people on the ground. The only thing now that is left with the EFF is to talk bad about Ramaphosa. That is the only thing that they are left with. That is the only card they are left with, by actually trying to decampaign the ANC, by trying to highlight what ANC has failed to do in South Africa. But when it comes to their own messaging, their own policies, it is not resonating with the people on the ground.
But the people of South Africa are not stupid. They know the ANC are incompetent in destroying the country. The majority do. And they know the EFF will only do way worse and destroy everything. The EFF are racists. So let's give the benefit of the doubt of, let's say 40 plus 9, 49% ANC EFF. By the way, they can never do a deal together. Because if the EFF and ANC do a deal, the EFF will run the ANC.
And Rob Hersov said that majority of the people of the country, they know that the ANC is incompetent. Of course, the people, they know that the ANC is incompetent. But I do not want to bet on the people knowing that the ANC is incompetent. I do not want to bet on that, because the South Africans have known that the ANC is incompetent for years. But for some reason, South Africans have continued to vote for the same ANC that they know themselves that it's incompetent. So I am not going to bet on the fact that the South Africans, that they know that the ANC is incompetent. Guys, I say this all the time, that the South Africans have been voting for broken down state-owned entities for the past 30 years. The South Africans have been voting for non-service delivery for the past 30 years. South Africans have been voting for broken down infrastructure for the past 30 years. The South Africans have been voting for unemployment for the past 30 years. The South Africans have been voting for crime for the past 30 years. The South Africans have been voting for incompetent ministers for the past 30 years. So I do not want to bet on South Africans understanding that the ANC is incompetent, because everyone knows that the ANC is incompetent. But when it comes to making a better decision, that is where the problem lies, and that is where the problem starts with South Africans, because all of these things that we always talk about, they understand them, they know them very well, but there is no way, like it almost looks like it's impossible for them to make a better decision, because these are the people that have been voting for the ANC for the past 30 years. So I am not going to bet on the fact that these people understand that the ANC is incompetent. They have been voting for the ANC for the past 30 years.
So let's give the benefit of the doubt.
But yes, I agree with him on this point. Let's give the people the benefit of the doubt. You know, sometimes I can be pessimistic. Some people said that, Thomas, man, you are being negative. I'm not being negative, guys. I'm trying to be honest with you. I'm trying to be as honest as possible with you. I don't want to raise up your hopes and you walking around thinking that the things are going to be bad. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. If South Africans are actually going to vote different this time around, I am going to be happy. I am going to be one person who's going to be very happy if South Africans actually vote different. So I'm going to stand with Rob Hersov on the side and say that, guys, let's give South Africans the benefit of the doubt. I am giving South Africans the benefit of the doubt, simply because just because I'm highlighting all of these things does not mean that I am not giving South Africans the benefit of the doubt. I am giving South Africans the benefit of the doubt. I am hoping that this time around we can vote different. I am hoping that this time around South Africans have had enough
Of let's say 40 plus 9, 49% ANC EFF. By the way, they can never do a deal together. Because if the EFF and ANC do a deal, the EFF will run the ANC.
Fact.
They'll run the ANC, and the ANC know it. So that's not going to happen. So let's say the Democratic Alliance, 25%.
What?
Say the Democratic Alliance, 25%.
So, guys, what do you think about those numbers? Do you actually think that the DA will go from where they are right now to 25? Because right now it's just predictions. Like we are not sure. Everyone is throwing out their own numbers. And how do you think the top 3 political parties are going to do, guys? Please tell me on the comment sections, how do you think the top 3 political parties are going to do? ANC, EFF, DA, please.
Action SA, 15%. Wow. Okay, that's 40%. And then you've got Inkatha, VF Plus, COPE, and the African Christian Democratic Party, plus Gayton McKenzie, the PA. And that's 55%. That is the coalition that wins the country. And the economy is going to boom because all the bad news is already priced into the rand. The rand will take off. Foreign investment will pour in to this country like a wall. and the country will take off. I mean, we've got 10 years of fixing things. We're like the Ukraine. They got invaded by Russia, all infrastructure destroyed. We got invaded by the ANC, all infrastructure destroyed.
Sure.
We're going to have to rebuild both countries. And you know the expression, when you hit rock bottom? With the ANC, if we hit rock bottom, they're going to keep digging. And that's the problem. So there is worse than the ANC, it's the EFF. But, you know, it's the old story of the frog in the water. You know, they keep boiling the frog, okay? And the frog gets hotter and hotter and hotter and doesn't do anything, and eventually the frog bursts, dies. You know, that's South Africans. We just think, okay, we've survived this, we've survived that, we can put up with it. I think enough's enough. Really, enough's enough. People.
Exactly, man. Like, I honestly hope that people can say that enough is enough, man. I hope this time around the South Africans can say enough is enough. I hope that we can say that, guys, enough is enough. I hope South Africans can say that, man. Enough is enough. People have had enough, man. Nothing is working in the country, man. And South Africa, one thing is that we have so much potential to be a great nation, man. We have so much potential, man. We are so diverse, man. We can actually use our diversity as our strength. Unlike these politicians that are trying to divide us because we are a diverse nation, we can actually use our our diversity as our strength. I hope that South Africans this time around they will say enough is enough, because if South Africans this time around don't say that enough is enough, things are going to get bad, man. Things are going to get bad. Things are going to get bad. And I think, again, this is what those foreign investment are looking at, man. I think they are looking at these elections and they are like, will South Africans actually allow us to come into the country so that we can better their lives? I think this is how, like, the guys with the foreign investment, they are looking at South Africa, man. Like, are these people actually ready for change? Are South Africans ready for change? Have South Africans had enough of these people that are doing nothing but stealing away from them? Have we had enough as South Africans? Have we had enough? Man, I wish the young people in this country can rise up, man. You know, I don't like talking about young people in South Africa, man, because they actually hurt me, man. Young people, man, they actually hurt me. Because if young people can rise up, if young people can stand up and say that, guys, we are fighting for our future this time around. We are getting rid of you. The same way you guys got rid of apartheid, we are getting rid of you. We don't want anything to do with you anymore. And the young people in this country, man, are the ones that can actually strive for change. But it looks like at this point, man, young people in South Africa, they are not even interested in anything that is happening in the country. It's almost as if young people in South Africa, they don't care about the future of this country. It's almost as if it's like that. We don't care about the future of the country. We don't care if the country goes down. We don't care who governs the country, man. We are simply occupied with things that are stupid. We are occupied with the TikTok challenges. We are occupied with booze. We are occupied with weekends. We are occupied with the drugs. This is what we are actually occupied with as young people in this country, man. Instead of us rising up and saying that, guys, let's fight for our country. Let's fight for our future. And most of us, we already have children. We already have children, but for some reason, when it comes to us making better decisions so that our children can grow up in a better environment, no, here we are. We are complacent. We don't want anything, man. We don't want anything. I have never seen young people, man, hating politics the same way young people in South Africa hate politics so much. South Africans, man, young people in South Africa, they hate politics so much, man. It will hurt your heart. Because right now, if we are being honest, we are not talking about politics on this program. We are not talking about politics. We are talking about the issues that are affecting us as the country. Even when you put it like that, people still say that, no, man, I don't want to participate in politics. I don't want anything to do with politics. But we are simply talking about the issues that are affecting us as the people of this country. But young people in this country, man, young people in this country, man, oh, guys. That's why it is so easy, man, for political parties like the ANC, man, to go out and campaign with apartheid and to remind the people of apartheid and to blackmail people into voting for them, because, guys, we fought for apartheid. That's why it is so easy for the ANC to do that. Why? Because they understand that the majority of the people that are voting are the people that were there in apartheid. When it comes to young people, 18 to 34. Most of these people, man, you will find them in the clubs. You will find them in the clubs.
Get out on the streets, get angry, and protest, and start to show the ANC we won't take it anymore. Helen Ziller was right when she said we should not be paying our taxes. So well put, absolutely bang on. And South Africans say, well, we're resilient, we can put up with it, and we'll solve the problem. But we're not solving the problem. We're just destroying the country.
Tax revolt. I heard if you condone South Africans not to pay tax, you will get arrested. How true is that, guys? I wanted to do a video about South Africans not paying tax, but they said, no, Thomas, you're going to get arrested. Please do not talk about that, guys. How true is it that talking about a tax revolt is actually going to land you in jail? Rob Hersov is a billionaire, man. He can buy his way out of everything. I am nowhere near Rob Hersov, man. So I'm very careful to talk about things that Rob Hersov is talking about, man. I'm never gonna talk about everything that Rob Hersov is talking about, man. This guy is a billionaire. He can go out of the country today, but when it comes to me,
story of the frog in the water. You know, they keep boiling the frog, okay? And the frog gets hotter and hotter and hotter and doesn't do anything, and eventually the frog bursts, dies. You know, that's South Africans. We just think, okay, we've survived this, we've survived that, we can put up with it. I think enough's enough. Really, enough's enough. People are going to get out on the streets, get angry, and protest, and start to show the ANC we won't take it anymore. Helen Ziller was right when she said we should not be paying our taxes. So well put, absolutely bang on. And South Africans say, well, we're resilient, we can put up with it, and we'll solve the problem. But we're not solving the problem. We're just destroying the country. We need to get together and chuck the ANC out.
Wow, Rob.
You know, Rob Hersov, man, Rob Hersov, when he talks about the resilience, he reminds me of something. You know that the ANC comrades, they love saying that South Africans are resilient, man. We are a resilient nation. This is what they love saying, that we are a resilient nation. Even after COVID, man, after people have lost their jobs senselessly, people lost their jobs senselessly, closing down the country senselessly. The ANC came out and said that, man, as the nation, we are a resilient nation, man. We are very resilient as the nation. So when Rob Hersov says that, guys, we need to go out, man. We need to go out and express our frustrations. The same way South Africans used to express their frustrations during the Zuma time. You remember when Jacob Zuma was still the president of the country, man, the people were not shy to go out and actually express their frustrations. But today, it reminds me of that thing. You remember Mike Shem, the host of the State of the Nation? He once said that it's almost as if Cyril Ramaphosa has beat us into submission. It's almost as if Ramaphosa has beat us into submission. No matter what these people do, you will never find us on the streets protesting. You will never find us on the streets protesting. But during Jacob Zuma, we actually made him understand that we are not happy about your presidency. We are not happy. We were out protesting. Yeah, Zuma must fall. Till today, we haven't seen the marches of Ramaphosa must fall. Isn't it ironic that we haven't seen the marches of Ramaphosa must fall?
The issues that are really problematic in South Africa. Listen to what he has to say about Becky Cele, the Minister of Police.
So the Minister of Police would be someone that has come out of the world of policing, like Ian Cameron.
Yes.
You know, the Minister of Sport would be someone that comes out of the world of sport or sport business. And I think the majority of my cabinet would be people that have had business backgrounds and business experience, because there's no greater calling in life than being in business. You know, if you make money, you be successful. If you lose money, you go out of business. Politicians don't go out of business. They just jump to the next way to steal. So a lot of the cabinet would be experts in that field and business people. You know, Becky Cele is useless as Minister of Police. He's stupid and useless, but he was Minister of Agriculture at some point. Do you know that? At the end of his first meeting as Minister of Agriculture, he listened for 3 hours, and then he said, I've learned a lot. I'm going to really make a difference as Minister of Agriculture. And you know what I'm going to do first? It upsets me that the Western Cape dominates wine production. I'm going to make sure there's wine production in the Transvaal, Free State, Natal.
Wow.
Now, what a stupid human being to realize you actually can't create wine in those places. He's so stupid he doesn't realize that. And that's a minister. And he's minister of police now. His knowledge of policing is zero. You know, Fakile too, useless. I mean, they just, our cabinet is a cabinet of clowns. All of them are stupid. All communists, which is even more stupid.
Yeah, so
guys, I'm laughing, but Hersov, man, is frustrated, man. He's frustrated, man. He's frustrated, man. You know Hersov, man, when he speaks about these things, when he speaks about the political landscape in South Africa, man, he speaks like someone on the ground. Hersov does not speak like a billionaire. He does not speak like someone who actually came from privilege. You know that almost every time Hersov will actually remind you that I come from a lot of privilege. But when he talks about the politics, when he talks about what is happening in the country, man, he talks like someone on the ground, because these are things that we talk about on the ground. How can you be the Minister of Agriculture 1 minute, then the next minute you are the Minister of Police, Fikile Mbaluda, the Minister of Police, and then you turn around and you say this guy is the Minister of Art and Culture, and this guy is the Minister. Like, this is what is happening, man. These people are simply shuffling each other around. They don't care how incompetent they are. They don't care that they don't know nothing about these portfolios that they have been given. They don't care about that. As long as they draw a fair salary and enjoy the perks in parliament, they are okay with that. They are okay with that. So, guys, I don't know, man. What do you think about Robert Hersov's predictions that maybe the DA 25%, the Action SA 15%, and the ANC below 40%? Guys, please tell me what you think on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button. And the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
The 360 experience with Thomas M.